And yeah, this breakout room is to discuss the collaboration around creating RFPs. And then this is one collaborative framework that we kind of came to as we were going through our own process and reflecting on how could we have done it better from the start, and just giving us something. And in fact, in January, when we start, we're going to actually go through these 6 steps in a much more rapid manner. And we're going to start with a reflection just to say what happened, where are we at, how can we do better, and then jump into the other phases to actually complete the RFP stuff. But that's a specific example instance of what we're working on. But I'd love to hear what you all think of when you think about collaboration from the community to get to the end result of an RFP. It could be, how would you do it differently, or things that resonate with you. And I do apologize, I have a hard stop in 14 minutes, so I'm here to kick off the conversation, but I do need to leave very shortly.
Yeah, I find it interesting, the prospect that this process of creating an RFC has been done in a kind of RFP way, and naturally there has been a collaboration, there has been in a way a prototype of this process already. So I would like spin the question back around as the expert, as the person going through this prototype process of collaboration with this specific goal. What are the questions you have? What are the reflections? Where are the knowledge gaps? Where are your pain points in this process already? If I can, of course.
Yeah, so we didn't start with this process, we ended with it. So we kind of stumbled our way through the collaboration process to kind of say, okay, here's a bunch of experts in the room. We have this goal, how do we get there? And yeah, so we've been through a lot of those kind of twisty paths and interpersonal conflicts and challenges around scope and what we're actually doing. And I think, yeah, I don't know, that's kind of where we're at. And we're thinking of applying this now to our next phase and kind of running through the same steps again to finish out what we started out doing, starting with a reflection probably next week to kick it off. So we'll end the year with a reflection, and then we'll start fresh in the new year, doing some deeper dives into where we're already at and doing that further iteration around this. But one of the things, as I was thinking about the request for collaboration model, is the output of that in the prototyping doesn't have to be an RFP. It could be a concrete thing, like say the knowledge graph needs an agreed upon ontology. That could entirely be done in the RFC model, where people don't propose an ontology project that they get funded and they go off and work on it. You can have the community come together and do the sensing and the team forming and doing different parts of it. And in the end, you start prototyping and testing as a group what the ontology might look like. So that's an exciting potential for me, where you're no longer funding work through concrete proposals and working in silos, but you could get a bunch of people who are really passionate about a certain topic together and work in a model that allows them to have a concrete prototype outcome, which could be the ontology, which then feeds back into an actual RFP for people to work in the open ecosystem parts of it. Guillermo.
Yeah, Nori, first, great job, and Jan, great initiative. I love what I see in terms of what it can bring to deep funding and all your efforts and the community results can be very useful for the new platform. So going back to the hard part of collaboration, more than nothing, so everybody's so spread around, you know, and understanding that concrete goals. So Felix mentioned that bringing the use case, the final use case, to deciding what to work with was the first difficult part. And once you have that, it's always crystal clear what you have to, what you have to push. So not that you can change what you have done, but what would you do different?
What I would have done differently, I don't know about the rest of the group, is actually follow the phases of what came out in the RFC model and do that reflection, where are we, and orient ourselves, and then do the sensing and the research and really digging into the problem space, and then understanding where we're at, where we want to go, and then start to ideate on possible solutions. I think for our case, some of the difficulty or tension was around, it was a little bit of a game of telephone. It went from Jan to Felix to us, and I'm 100% certain there were nuances and things that were lost in that translation. And that caused a little bit of confusion and spinning, and we didn't quite know where we were going from the beginning. And then there may also be shifting expectations over time, which also caused a little bit of changes. And then the question of like compensation for our time and all that came midway, which then came with a bunch of requirements for that, which then again, like caused us to have to recorrect there. So there was a lot of turbulence from not doing the proper upfront steps to really ground ourselves into where we came from, where we want to go, and then doing this joint sensing.
So communication, if you have to put it in one word, communication.
Communication's a big part, yeah.
If you can jump in, I found it interesting, something you said, if it's okay, Guillermo, something you said, Nori, that you wished you stuck to the kind of plan that was set out, that there was a kind of divergence, whether that was scope creep or not, I guess that's subjective, but there was a divergence and you didn't feel the agency to carry on. Is that perhaps like, it's a lot of decentralized teams coming together? I wonder if there is an expectation when we come together that we all have to go to this place together, but in self-organization, to really get that emergence of behavior, there has to be enough perturbations, there has to be enough variations at the bottom of the base pyramid in order to really create real emergence. I wonder if that's a reflection we can take forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the key learnings, it was mentioned on the key lessons learned, was the emotional buy-in from all of the participants. And rather than this being kind of this emergent collaboration, every group that was there was invited by Felix to participate. So when we arrived, nobody started out with this emotional buy-in to say, we need to build a knowledge graph, let's get together and do this thing. We were invited to this thing, which meant that we had various levels of commitment and passion and interest in the problem. And in a truly emergent space, you would go out to the community and say, here's an issue, who wants to think about this? And those people would naturally come together and have that energy and passion around it. And I think that was a really key missing step. We tried to create a structure around something where a more emergent structure might have been more effective, at least from the buy-in and participation and ownership side of things.
That's really nice to hear, because if I'm going to be completely honest, I felt a little bit sad when I heard about the project that I wasn't kind of invited. It made me feel like I wasn't like part of some kind of cool crowd, that maybe there's something I'd missed, a memo, you know. Like, to be completely honest with myself, yeah. It would be lovely to at least have that recorded invitation openly.
Yeah.
I had nothing to that slide.
Sorry, Nori. So to keep the creative spirit on the table and the collaboration, and thinking on the task, and using this as part. If we are part of a team now for 10 more minutes, and how can we add to what we saw? I like what I saw. It reflects a lot of what we discussed and what we need to achieve with the new platform and all these things that Jan is visualizing and he's talking about it. There were some things that Felix mentioned on the workshop on Tuesday that they were really on point. That what we can do on the platform in terms of reviewing, validating proposals. One of the things that the problems we have for onboarding, validating profiles linked, all this stuff that can be part of a knowledge base graph, and how we can add communication to that knowledge graph, being something that it has different forms, words, language, all of this, how we can add that layer into the graph, because it seems that it's the same problem everywhere. You know, it's all about not only writing down what we are going to do and probably the rules of engagement, the contracts, all these things. Maybe communication is a good part of what we need to, if it's not already in, to try to figure out how we can add it.
Yeah,
And
really nice. Sorry, go ahead.
We've been talking about rebooting in January, actually working through the 6 phases that we talked about. And maybe this is a good time to reverse it and make an open community call to say, this is the idea around the knowledge graph, who wants to participate, and not have this closed group take it across the finish line, but open it up now that we're here and get people that are really passionate about it into the room to talk about it, like Lai said. So that might be a really great outcome of this conversation here today. Sorry, go ahead.
I try to add on the mirror board when I'm not drunk on holidays, but I'm pretty gonna be bored.
Yeah,
for sure. So that would be a good starting point.
I think something, I think especially from content creators and an IP creator perspective is IP, and that would be something that's important to me, is like a thorough method of like citations and like really respecting the IP of people who put those ideas into the collective pot. And I think there can be, I don't know, I feel like there can be some engineering where we can really enable great ideas or teams or projects which perhaps didn't have the right project or had a great idea but not the right team, if it's engineered. I think, yeah, there's a lot of potential there.
That aligns to an idea from Vanessa. I think she also proposed that in Catalyst once. Nano publications or something like that, where the idea is that everybody will write down their learnings in some kind of format and just as a one-liner, something like that. And so I also mentioned Felix and Vanessa and tried to connect them also on that topic, to have that also added to the knowledge graph. Because if you have a project and you have people who contributed to that project, and you will then have this kind of micro logging or whatever you want to call it. And then you can make connections and comparisons between projects, etc. Yeah, then it could become a really interesting thing. Of course, how people would be incentivized to make those nano blogs, etc., is a different thing. But yeah.
I love it. I think it really starts to get interesting when we can really map these like micro transactions of how we create projects together and really kind of understand. Wow. Possibility is just unfold. Yeah, great stuff.
Oh, I'm so sad I have to hop out now. I have another meeting that's starting now.
All right.
You
Thank you
guys
so
can-
much, Nori.
Yeah.
By the way, a couple of hours ago, I wrote you a message on MetaMost. I'm not sure how frequent you are there, so
I'll take a look. Okay.
okay.
All right. Thanks for
All right.
that. Thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, Nori.
Bye.
Yeah, so does anybody else? I'm purposefully keeping my mouth shut as much as possible and waiting for you first to react. So is there anybody else who would like to comment, give input, ideas? Otherwise, I have a load of things that I can talk about, but
I feel like I've spoken quite a lot. I'm very curious to hear what's on your mind, Jan, and possibly jump in.
all right. So my ideation on collaboration is taking the following direction at this moment. So I was taken by surprise, and very pleasant surprise, that we could combine the creation of RFCs with collaboration, because in an ideal scenario, there would be different teams and all of them would bring their own different perspective and they would work well together and then have a solution that is much more robust and well thought through than if any one single person or team would create it only from their perspective. And if you're talking about RFPs, there is also some merit there, because you don't want an RFP to be to the benefit of one team. It should be to the benefit of the whole community. So if there's more people collaborating on that RFP, then the chances that it's to the benefit of everybody are also larger. However, as we can see, is that there's a lot of energy going into that collaboration. And the output was not quite what I expected after a couple of months. Because so much time went into getting to know each other, friction between different cultures and different ways of working on all kinds of preconditions and guardrails like payment and hours and having the agendas aligned. I imagine that would be so the more people there are in such a group, the more overhead you will also create. So collaboration is a hard thing. And then I saw the document that Nori created, which was about this whole process. And I thought, whoa, if we take a project through all that process, it will be an 8 to 12 month trajectory before we have that RFP out. And maybe it will be a very good RFP, or maybe somebody else will already have made it. So I was hoping for something that's a little bit quicker. However, I do think it has its merits, what they have been thinking about. So my current line of thinking is that we could turn things inside out. And instead of having this collaboration in the team that is creating the RFP, I can imagine we'll create a framework where everybody can create an RFP. And we'll allocate different stages in that RFP. So there would be the plain idea. Then maybe the second stage would be do some market research, deepen it, make sure you have the right experts to follow up on it. And then the third part could be creating the final RFP or something. Maybe there's some stage in between if you want. And what we could do is instead of having the team collaborate on the RFP, we could create an RFP incubator. So we could have the collaboration inside the RFP incubator. So there would be a number of people in that incubator with different perspectives. So some could be technology oriented, some could be business or marketing oriented, some could be maybe data oriented or UX oriented. And if we would have a team of people like that, we could make a kind of incubator, and there would be a filter for everybody could create their ideas. There would be a filter somehow for getting these ideas in. There would be some, and each of these stages, there could also be some form of payment. So if your idea is selected to go to the next phase, well, then you already get some compensation for your great idea. If you're putting more effort in marketing and ideation and getting the right strategy document or whatever, and you have that delivered, well, then there's a certain amount of payment for that as well. And then we can bring it from phase to phase. And ideally, this would happen in a transparent way, where the rest of the community would be able to see what is happening and where ideas are and how they are going through the flow and how they grow. And suppose that we do that, then once the RFP comes out, so at some point the RFP will be approved and then it will be published. And at that moment when it's published, teams can start writing proposals, and then it will be handled in the next round. But also with our new platform, you would already be able to create your proposal and prepare it before the next round starts. But by then, if it went through that flow, then at least interested people would already know about that RFP. They would know the storyline, they knew who was involved. And I can imagine that some kind of town hall situations where every other week or so, the RFP incubation team would have a talk. So this is what we did, and this is what went to the next stage, and this is what this person did. Maybe they could also present themselves. Actually, one moment earlier today, I thought of this as a kind of Shark Tank setup, but I'm not sure if we really need to go there. It has some other disadvantages. So I would like to turn it inside out and create an RFP incubator and have some knowledgeable people in that incubator, maybe also a few people from SingularityNET if we can get them, to ensure that we have high value RFPs as output.
I think that's great stuff. I really like the idea of the incubator, that it can enable this RFP to kind of naturally emerge. And I can really imagine some interesting activities, like some kind of speed date hackathons that really kind of enable testing, enable this failure to see, okay, these are who I can work with technically and interpersonally. I think, when you were speaking, what I was receiving is, okay, creating ways to confront assumptions in the process. And it's a reflection that I have that when you get loads of experts from wide-ranging fields from for all the product process in the same room, in the same environment, you're able to really confront assumptions right then and there to conceptually, okay, if we do this, does that work on the other side of the product? Okay, no, it doesn't. And those kinds of destroying those assumptions will, I think, be really, really helpful. I guess how I think of it, like, there are these obstructions that we need to take away in order for these people to create this beautiful RFP. But those silos are often informational communication, and I would say that when I've seen this done before in different scenarios, often the ability to communicate and coordinate between different teams is underestimated sometimes and often has been solved really well by actually having an organization, a team who is doing the coordination, orientation, communication between them. That it's not up to these kinds of technical teams to work out how they can interact interpersonally with each other when that's not their expert, that's not their genius state. We just want people in their genius state.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack there and to detail and one question would be, one question that I have on my mind right now, who would be the people in the incubator? So collaborating on a, so I thought at the beginning, it's good if we want to have collaboration, that we have people collaborating on something. So there's this end goal. We want to create this RFP. Now let's think together how we do it. But actually, maybe that was more like a roadblock than something that actually helped. But collaborating by being together in a kind of jury, well, it's not a jury, it's more like being coaches, I would say. Although that jury element is also in there. Yeah, then it's actually that same diversity that in this situation created maybe conflict and friction and took a lot of energy. In such a situation would actually be a benefit, having very different kinds of people looking at the same thing with a different hat on. So that's what I mean by turning it inside out, basically. And now the question is then, or one of the next questions would be, who would be the people in such an incubator? Because if we would be having some kind of award for these stages and we would pay people for their support, there would be an incentive already. I have some more further fetched ideas, but let's stick at this right now. But what would be the incentive for people in that incubator? Because I promised them some awards, but it's not to the extent that people would get rich of it. So actually, I brought it down quite a bit from what they were asking originally. So for this kind of role, you do need some experienced people, some seniority, I think. So that's a little bit. So maybe we have them in the community. Maybe people. Not everybody is. I think this role. If somebody would take on this role, and he would be a very senior person, he would never do it only because of the money. So there are other benefits as well, I would say, or motivations. But that's something I'm thinking about. So I'm thinking about, should it be people from SingularityNET maybe? Should it be people from the community? Should it be a mix? Should it be people from outside? How can we incentivize them, etc.?
I think the question that I think of is like, not necessarily who it's going to be, but who's going to decide who it's going to be.
Well, the way I'm doing is, so you asked somewhere a question, you started with a closed thing and then you open it up. Would you do it the same next time? It's a little bit emergent process that I am taking with these circles. So the focus group I selected, but with the idea that in the future it would be an election. But to get it started, we selected a group. And the same is going for the marketing circle. We start with a group that is selected to build a culture and to create a good startup with the proper rules, etc. And then we'll open it up and we'll make processes for the rest of the community to be part of that and have some dynamic rotation, etc. Same, I suppose, also for the review team. So I think in this case, it could be something similar, especially for this case, actually, because what we want to avoid here is that there will be some high profile person that wants to create an RFP, some senior person, and then there's some junior person who doesn't know anything. He's going to assess that proposal or that idea or whatever. If we would start out on that, it would die instantly and would be very hard to resurrect it.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, I think definitely. Like having that, yeah, knowledge silos in a way. I wonder if something like, I think of how I can't remember who said it. Someone said it to me about how surgeons are trained. Like there's one watching. There's one surgeon watching. There's one who's the trainee. There's one surgeon that's doing the operation, practicing, and there's one senior person who's kind of like overseeing the process. And I wonder if like creating a kind of chain like that would enable like these knowledge gaps of like when someone leaves, all their knowledge leaves, it could be kind of passed down in process, perhaps.
Yeah, that's not completely dissimilar from the process we're taking. So we having circles with say 5 or 7 people. We allocate, for instance, in the review circle, we'll do it similarly in the marketing circle, 2 people that are the coordinators that will make sure that everybody does the work at the right time and connect to Rafael and me. And we will have some kind of rotating scheme also for the coordinator, so that role will also rotate among people if they are interested. And for instance, for the focus group, I imagine that in half a year, one person will be re-elected, and the next half year another person will be re-elected, and on every half year either 1 or 2 people will be re-elected, so that after 2 years or something, the whole group will have changed, but while the knowledge and the culture will still be retained.
Yeah.
Guillermo, been waiting a lot.
Yeah, no worries. The best part of all this experience is listening, and on top of practicing my ear for my English, so I don't lose it completely. But going back to the difficulties of co-creation, collaboration, and on top of that, incubation. I love the idea of an RFP incubator. Understanding the hard part of incubation, but I think would be the right way for collaboration, because you need methodology. It's everything. It's the same path and the same variable we see in all the circles, in all the work groups, in all and what we are trying to achieve. What we have discussed with Fly yesterday on a call, and what we discussed before today's town hall in the Incubation Guild. I've been jumping to help. If you are afraid of killing the creativity because using bureaucracy, you're not going to finish. You're not going to finish, because you need not bureaucracy. That's a harsh word, but methods. You need standards. You need junior to be inspiring. You need a mid knowledge silo to knows how to operate, and you need a senior to say yes, no, right, left. So that's how corporate works. I've said this 3 times in the week. I've been a corporate and still a corporate, and we decentralized maximalists need corporate thought with our books. Even to write a manifesto, you need knowledge. So I agree that I said this to Peter and to Fly before jumping today. I don't get in discussions. You don't need how you say conflict resolution if there's no conflict. No. So when you have a clear, let's say, case to work and a clear goal, then it's all about hands-on. And I agree that having a different time lap on the globe, if you use it right, can work on your behalf. You can reduce time on a roadmap. When you're sleeping, the other guy is working. But you need to know that before you jump in a task. Having all these colors and all these melodies and all these tones, you need to use it on your behalf. If it's going to bring difficulties, so something is wrong on the methodology. And that's why you study. Some people get it, know how to play the piano by instinct, but when they get knowledge, they know how to be more collaborative. If not, everybody have to listen to them. So I think that's the kind of spirit we're trying to bring to the incubator guild without killing the spirit, and that's something that I love the idea of RFP. It had proven to be a good tool, and having this to open to the community to co-create is one of what I love from the SNET, and that's one of our biggest challenge, and that's one of my biggest commitments. So it's good to hear from you, Jan, that you're the guy on the wheel.
Well, spoken like a true architect, I would say, Guillermo, because you work also with making things beautiful, but also it has to have a good structure, and there are a lot of technical requirements there as well. So you have to balance these things. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a trick in many things.
I think there are a lot of opportunities, as I referenced a bit in the chat, as a launchpad, collaborating with this ecosystem with SingularityNET. I think it's not, yeah, it's really reciprocal in a way with these teams. I mean, SingularityNET isn't necessarily the end goal for a lot of these projects. They're here because they align with the values, and like, yes, it may be the same direction for now, but yeah, as we are kind of crossing paths in this decentralized ecosystem, I think this opportunity of this incubator being a platform is really great, and there perhaps it can enable a bit more collaboration or like professional discussion or initiations between the projects within the ecosystem from the foundation and these decentralized teams, who I think there are, I can only imagine the amount of possibilities that if collaborations were really kind of engineered between these, there are many solutions that are already possible if we just kind of connect them. Yeah.
Yes, I think we are already seeing some of that happening. So even with this RFP process, there is opportunity to bring SingularityNET closer to deep funding, because that's and the community in general. Those are still a little bit separate work. But what didn't happen perfectly in the last round is I wanted to have the teams more involved in reviewing and approving and yeah, making reviews of the proposals that came out of the RFP, but yeah, it's always struggling with resources in our organization. But that's one way. I was very happy to see a number of my colleagues here tonight, which was a surprise. So I think that's also a good sign. And that's also maybe a benefit. I don't know, maybe somebody posted it on Mattermost or something, our Slack replacement environment. So also for Pauline, we have two versions of Mattermost. One is strictly for employees or contractors, and one is open, still invite only, so it's not completely open. but for a wider circle. And that also helps to get into touch with each other. So it could be that somebody created an invite somewhere in Mattermost and some people picked it up. And then, yeah, the other way around, if we have this incubator and we have some people from inside and from outside, if I can call it that, working together, yeah, that would be great. That would be great. And by the way, I think there are also other ways that we will expand. So we're working on OpenCog Hyperon. We're aiming now to have the alpha ready on in April is the current timeline. And after that, the idea is there won't be this cool shiny product with all kinds of buttons that you can push, but it's a starting point of getting more developer collaboration. So we'll have hackathons and we'll have invites and we'll have documentation for people to work with it and all that kind of thing. So yeah, I do think this is another piece of the puzzle, and having more senior people work with less senior people and helping, etc. Yeah, that's my dream for deep funding, basically.
Great stuff. Nice.
Yeah, so glad you're liking. Oh, maybe. So, what time should we need? Were we supposed to be back in the main room at 10, or I mean, in 4 minutes from now?
I'll check if once that.
Yeah. Well, one thing I can another thought that is emerging in my mind right now. So this is really early, right? I have thought about this literally 2 hours or something. If we have this RFP process and we have this incubator and it functions for bringing up the value and assessing the value of proposals, we could also have the same process for some regular proposals instead of only for RFPs. And the thinking here is that we could limit the maximum amount for proposals in regular pools. So let's say in a regular pool, we will say the maximum amount you can get awarded for is 75K or something. And if you want to have a project from 200K awarded, then you are also supposed to go through 1 or 2 steps, maybe different steps than the RFP of this incubator to get some feedback and to get approval to apply for a higher amount. I see a lot of nodding and thumbs up, so.
Yeah, I like the idea, yeah, definitely.
So yeah, a lot to think about and a lot to detail and a lot to build. We're just building our circles, and there's a lot of work there as well. And Raphael can tell you all about that. But yeah, you know, I think there will be a lot of interesting things in the coming year. So we'll have hackathons, and we'll have those hackathon outputs in a special pool in Deep Funding. We'll do things with OpenCog Hyperon. I think we might have partner projects. So we talked about RFPs for SNET RFPs and now community-driven RFPs. But we could also have partner organization RFPs. If we work together with a partner, that could be a different source, and then they would be able to sponsor that also, of course. Still always with the conditions that whatever is being done in Deep Funding would need to help the platform grow within the mission and vision of SingularityNET, being beneficial and so on for everybody.
That's really, yeah, I really like that reflection from you about like starting to partner out. I understand it, that really aligns with kind of emissions of Deep Funding long term, and looking for other ways to kind of synchronize and even like partner between foundations or ecosystems. If we can prototype that process within the ecosystem, that's a great opportunity, a great frame to take further afield.
Yeah. Well, apart from that, we're working on our platform. It's actually online now, although not all functionality is visible. We did a test round. Some of you tested also. I think you tested, Guillermo, didn't you?
I just click on the link today, to be honest, and I'm gonna take some time. I have been.
Yeah, you don't have to. You don't have to. We only
No,
need
I want to. I want to because
so.
I want to, and I will give my feedback. But for today, I just want to say goodbye. My kid is using the football ball in the living room, so I need to take him out to the soccer class. And always good to see you guys. And so I guess this was the last of the year.
Yeah,
But
yeah, nice.
So still we're gonna have the chance to say Happy New Year on the chat, but this is a good time to say to you personally, Fly, I love you, man. Enjoy your spirit. Senor Jan, always great. Pauline, it was great to meet you. And
Me too.
Robert, I enjoy your knowledge everywhere. So have a great finish of this crazy year and a great start of this next crazy year.
Thanks,
Looking
Matt.
forward to
Happy New
you
Year.
back in 2024, Guillermo. And enjoy.